First of all, the one thing that I would like to mention that yeah, we are speaking of Che Guevara, of course, and that is this is the 40th anniversary. It will be exactly October the 9th when he was murdered.
So many of us here today and elsewhere in Vancouver committed to change, considering ourselves part of the left, but without the level of awareness, without the level of commitment, without the level of self-discipline that Che brought to everything he committed himself to. Because you see, Che was absolutely convinced that it's not the objective conditions that determine whether or not a revolution goes forward. It's the subjective conditions. That if we wait for the stars to be in perfect alignment before we try to bring about profound social change, we're going to go to our graves waiting for those stars to be in perfect alignment. And Che, along with Fidel and others, back in the early 1950s, recognized something that others on the left did not recognize in Cuba. That with enough determination and self-discipline, a relatively small group of people could bring about not just a little bit of tinkering at the edges of change, but profound change. In fact, more than change, a revolution. And against all odds, they brought about that revolution in Cuba, against all odds. Imagine if today we faced in Ottawa somebody even more evil than Harper. Somebody like Batista. Imagine if today we faced in Canada not just a military that invades other countries like Afghanistan, but a military used by Ottawa to keep movements at bay all across Canada. We have a hard enough time fighting back against the system as it currently exists. How many of us would be prepared to do what Fidel and Che did? To organize a revolution against Batista, armed and supported and funded by the most powerful nation in the entire world. The most powerful nation just a stone's throw away from Cuba. And Fidel's initial attempt to bring about a spark, to spark a revolution, on the surface, the July 53 attack on a Cuban military base, on the face of it, on the superficial face of it, was a failure. It was put down immediately by Batista and his forces. But the beautiful thing about Fidel, and at a later point in time Che brought to the revolution, is that from every negative, from every temporary setback, those negatives were turned into positives. And when Che met up with Fidel in Mexico a few years later, Fidel immediately recognized in Che the level of commitment and discipline that would make a significant difference, perhaps a tipping point difference to the revolution in Cuba. And Che demonstrated in the revolution that Fidel was right, that what Fidel had seen in Che was true times 100. How important it is for all of us to really believe in our hearts that it is possible today to bring about profound social change, that it's the subjective conditions, the level of commitment, the number of hours that we're prepared to put into doing organizing. What we've learned from Che is that it's not just a matter of building a new economy. It's not just a matter of ensuring that wealth is distributed more equally. It's not just a matter of implementing social programs. What's absolutely fundamentally important is that we build a new human being. That if we don't do that, in the long term, it will be for naught. And I've learned since then that in the Soviet Union, after the Cuban Revolution, in the factories where they were building the tractors, manufacturing the tractors for Cuba, the workers were incredibly inspired and motivated, not because of the salary they were being paid, but because they were contributing in a very concrete way to an entirely new way of life. Che was absolutely committed to that. And one day, not too long after the revolution, he was touring a factory, and the factory owner gave him a gift, a bicycle for his daughter. I'm sure the factory owner meant well. The factory manager, not owner, the factory manager meant well. But Che was offended because Che did not believe in individuals being beneficiaries of their position. And he gave the bicycle back immediately. In fact, he not only did that, but when he was the head of the Cuban Central Bank, he eliminated all perks. He even eliminated private motor vehicles for any of the managers of that bank. He believed in leadership by example. And giving that bicycle back was an example of saying no to perks. Che was absolutely convinced that if the revolution is to be successful, it needs to build a society where people are not motivated by the money that they're paid, but they're motivated by a higher level of morality. And when we reflect for a moment today about some of the incredible achievements of Cuba, let's ask ourselves whether or not those achievements were as a result of greed, or as a result of material incentives, or were they in fact the result of that higher level of morality, that higher level of commitment and inspiration. You know, one of Cuba's #1 exports is doctors. Doctors who move to countries all around the world to provide free medicine to people that have never even seen a doctor in their entire life. Are those doctors motivated by the marketplace? Absolutely not. They're motivated by a sense of justice. They're motivated by the same thing that motivates us to try to build a better world. And when the apartheid regime in Angola invaded Namibia and then went north with the objective of overthrowing the government in Angola, what motivated the Cuban troops to be airborne within 48 hours and bring about the decisive defeat of the South African army? Was it materialism? Was it Kirkism? Absolutely not. It was a complete and total commitment to fight back against and do everything possible to bring an end to apartheid in South Africa. And that's what motivates all of the other changes that we see in Latin America today. Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. It's not implementing quote-unquote market reform. I suppose in a way he is, but it's market reform of the opposite of what the Adam Smiths of the world mean when they say market reform, a euphemism for the reintroduction of capitalism. They're doing just the opposite. They're bringing healthcare and education to the barrios in Venezuela. And our friends in Bolivia the same. So we need to leave today inspired by the fact Che some 40 years ago, little did they believe, little did they even suspect that Che and yes would accomplish, hard to believe, even more than he had accomplished in his life. But there's a little bit of Che that lives on in each and every one of us. It's important that we never lose sight of the two things that Che stood for, perhaps most importantly: the self-discipline and commitment that the subjective forces can overcome the objective forces, and that after the revolution, not if but when the revolution, which will happen here in Canada, that the revolution implements a society based on morality and altruism and commitment, and not based on incentives and so-called market reforms. So, thank you very much, and let's keep doing, as they say in Cuba, be like Che.
So I guess when we speak of the 4th anniversary of Che, we mean the collective Che, the Che that, as Tim mentioned, it's in every one of us, and especially in those who have died with him. There's an interesting a news item recently that came out where the Mario Terán, who's the person, the Bolivian who actually killed, physically shot Che, okay? And he's an older person now, and he just underwent cataract surgery in Bolivia, and he was operated on through the missions, the health missions that were the Cuban health missions based in Bolivia. So this is the kind of humanity that Tim referred to also, that Che had, and Cuba and Fidel, they still maintain. That's the character of the Cuban Revolution. That's the character of Cuban socialism, and that's the character of this new socialism that Latin America is striving for. So we should not forget that. I think that the link is very clear.
Che Guevara was an example, like Tim was mentioning, of his personal exigency. He never requests to anyone to do something that he will be not capable to do it. He don't request any sacrifice that he will be not able to do it. Even, I don't know whether you are aware about that, long before anybody was talking about the recovery of raw materials and so on, in Cuba, Che Guevara started to do it, all the paper to be collected, to recycle, all the glass to be recycled. He was starting the recycling as early as 1962-63, when nobody was taking care about that in our world. As long as I know, nobody was taking care about that. He was taking care about that. Also, it's very important to read some of his writing, the participation of Che Guevara in the Algiers Conference in 1965, at the beginning of 1965, where he made a very short speech, but he is pointing out that the socialist country need to give more support to the underdeveloped world. Why? Because if you are using the law of the value, and you are using to give the same price to the underdeveloped country, how many tons of coffee you need to give for a machine? Let's say for a truck, a lot. And day by day we need to give more. And he was saying that that was unfair, that that was not well received among the socialist country and also by the Soviet Union. And it's very interesting. I propose that you will follow and to read about that, because it was a revolutionary ideas about how the exchange between socialist countries must be with underdeveloped countries. You cannot receive the same price, you cannot receive the same treatment that the capitalist enterprises were given to the underdeveloped countries. Then the legacy of Che is over there when the Cuban doctors are going to Venezuela, to Barrio Adentro, when the Cuban doctors are going to Pakistan after the earthquake, when Cuban doctors are going to Guatemala and those countries that suffer after the hurricane over there, or they go to Haiti, or they go to Paraguay, or anywhere in the world, or Bolivia right now, when the medical operation is going on, more than 600,000 people have been operated, among them Mario Terán. The Che legacy is there. The ideas of Che are there. When you see that through Yo Si Puedo, Yes I Can, people, analphabets, now there is no analphabetism in Venezuela, that there is a lot of progress in Bolivia. There are several communities in different countries where they're using the Cuban method, and as I mentioned in some other places, even in New Zealand, people are learning how to read and to write. Che Guevara is there, because all those are ideas that were preconized by Che Guevara. When Cuba was taking part in the war in Angola, defending Angola from the attack of South Africa, Che Guevara was there. When Cuba offered to send 1,500 doctors to help the people in Louisiana after the Hurricane Katrina, Che Guevara was there. When the students are going to be prepared in Cuba in order to go up country, not to remain in cities, to be medical doctors and to do preventive medicine, not curative medicine, Che Guevara is there. And by the end, when you see the 5 Cuban heroes that are in our days in prison because of a question of ethics and defending the Cuban Revolution, and they are, day by day, they are stronger, because I remember once 2 ladies from the United States, I think Gloria La Riva and somebody else, went to see Gerardo, and they were going there to encourage him. At the end, they were crying, and Gerardo was giving encourage them, because that is the heritage that we go, the legacy of Che Guevara, to create people that are able to stay in jail 5, 10, 20, 30 years, because again, as Hemingway was saying, a man can be destroyed, but is not defeated. He was destroyed, but he is not defeated. These Cuban 5 that are in our day still in jail, they are starting now the year number 10 in prison. 2 of them are not able to receive their wives because they are a threat for the American security. Can you imagine how 2 ladies can make a danger to the security of the United States? Meanwhile, the real terrorists like Posada Carriles and Bosch and some others are walking around Miami without any problem. We consider Cubans and that a better world is possible. Those 5 consider a better world is possible. Che Guevara, that is alive, because he was assassinated, but he's alive, he's together with us today. We consider that a better world is possible, a better of peace, a better of humanity, a better of solidarity. A world that everybody will be able to read and to write, to have a shelter where to live, to have at least a minimum clothes. We consider that there is enough space in this world that everybody will have that. That is why, once again, I repeat, a better world is possible, and we follow the legacy of Che Guevara. Thank you so much. And